What is good, y'all? Welcome back to Christian Roth Productions. As always, I am Chris. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful Monday. So, October is right around the corner, and we all know October is spooky season. All right, yeah. Halloween's right there. And one of the best ways to spend Halloween in October is just to indulge in horror films, scary movies, thrillers, anything like that. And since September's almost wrapping up, I'm already indulging in that stuff. Actually, year around, I'm watching these type of films, but especially during this time of the year, it's the best time. It starts to get chilly outside. It starts to the leaves start to turn orange, and I'm in Texas, so it's still like 100 degrees, but that's not the point right now. So one of the films that I think is going to be very, very popular in the month of October is No One Will Save You. So this is going to be my review. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers. I have some of my thoughts right here written down. So if I get into spoilers, I will let you know ahead of time, but I'm going to let you know right now. I'm gonna avoid spoilers because I want anyone who watches this just to go in open minded and to not really know much about the film besides my initial thoughts. So this movie is written and directed by Brian Duffield. Oh yeah, this movie's on Hulu. Forgot to mention that. Written and directed by Brian Duffield, starring Caitlin Dever as Bryn. So, this movie, it is, your alien invasion type movie. So, I want to give the gist of the synopsis. Um, Heads up. So, this movie has no dialogue at all. So, if going into this, if that's going to be a problem for you, then I'm letting you know ahead of time. There's only one piece of dialogue, which I'll get into later, and the actress Caitlin Dever as Bryn, she is obviously the star of this movie. So it's about a this girl who lives in this small town, beautiful, beautiful area, and she's into crafts. She likes to build models. Like home models. She loves to dance. She loves records. She's into antique stuff. So that's basically, we don't know much about her character, only what we discover throughout this film. So I just want to give some of my initial thoughts, how I feel about this film. It's very this is an alien invasion movie, and this movie does not shy away from showing you the aliens. So this film has a lot of similarities to M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Mel Gibson. And so if you've seen that movie, then you have sort of an idea of what this film's gonna be. Sort of like they're in this beautiful home out in the woods. Why were they chosen? Why was she chosen to be invaded by these aliens? Um, like I mentioned, this movie does not shy away from showing them. So you see these aliens, very, very creepy. Have you seen Nope, the Jordan Peele movie starring Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer? There's a scene in that movie, spoilers if you haven't seen it. There's a scene in that movie where Daniel Kaluuya's character is out but in a barn and he sees aliens. And when you're watching that film, excuse me, when you're watching that scene in theaters, genuinely you feel this like creepiness creep up over your body. That's how this film feels the whole time. You feel uneasy, you feel for the main character, you're rooting for her, and you're this movie doesn't really ask why are they invading. It's more of how can she survive. This movie doesn't pull on a thread and try to give you reasons on why they're here. It just wants you to indulge on the actual invasion. So if you're seeking answers for any real life aliens that we've been discovering lately, you're not gonna get the answers here because this movie feels like Sort of like the Twilight Zone. If you've seen the Twilight Zone, the original series, or the Jordan Peele, and I just mentioned him, reboot of that show, you feel this sense of who do you trust? Is your neighbor one of these aliens? Why me? Why are they choosing me? So I feel like this movie very much translates that's feeling. Um and she kind of has this sense of social anxiety. You see at the beginning of the film where she has to practice waving at people in the mirror, and she doesn't talk to anybody. That's kind of a theme of this whole movie, no dialogue. So the actual alien invasion is the driving story of point A to point B. We're going to follow this character, we're going to see where she goes. The emotional plot of this movie is about her and her friend. You get introduced to the friend early in the movie, so it's not like, oh, you find this out later on. You get introduced to her early, and she misses this friend. And you're trying to figure out exactly what happened to this friend. Where is this friend at? Why does she miss her so much? Yes, it's obvious, to miss someone you haven't seen, but the way that Brian, no, excuse me, not Brian, excuse me, Bryn, the way she handles it, it's kind of like, does she have guilt? Is she feeling a sense of loneliness, which she does feel, but I feel like she handles it well, as her character being very, introverted. For her to be on her own the whole movie, this actress is able to portray a character of vulnerability, braveness, survivability, and this, total badass. And that's one of the points I wanted to get into. Our protagonist, Bren, she is an absolute bad ass. Some of it is luck, but a good amount of her survivability throughout this movie is pure just will. I'm not going to go into the specifics of what she does or how she survives. If she ends up surviving, I'm not going to get into the spoilers at the end. But throughout the movie, how does she get through from point A to point B without breaking mentally? I think this actress is able to actually physically portray that. And that's one of the things I actually really, really enjoyed about this film, which is kind of nuanced, but is, you know, we have this character being dragged through the mud, and the actress, I forget the actress's name. I have it right here. Uh, Caitlin Dever. Caitlin, she's able to, her facial expressions, her body language, just this sense of anxiety that she's able to portray on screen as this character who's going through all this stuff. I think she's able to really translate that well, because when you have no words coming out of your mouth, you have to translate what you're feeling through your face and through your actions. And I think for this type of film where she's on her own, I think it kind of makes sense. Sometimes whenever not sometimes a lot of the times when you see an alien invasion type movie, you have the main protagonist look at an alien and say, why are you doing this? Why are you here? They don't speak our language, nor do we speak their language, so why would we even ask that to them? A lot of the times it's just out of fear and just a compulsive just question just to ask. But this character doesn't have any of those traits. She's a straight business. How the hell can I get out of this situation? And there's a lot of action, not like over like, oh my god, this action is like wonderful. It's, thriller type of action. And the actual aliens, like I mentioned earlier, look creepy as hell. Um, they do look like a traditional type of alien, the gray and all that. But their bodies, wow. I think they speak with their bodies, and it's very, very, very creepy. Um, so I think, my only con for this film, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of this film. Oh, before I get into the con, there's a human character that does something to our main character, Bryn, that you absolutely despise. But when you find out the reason why she did that to her, you don't justify it. but at the same time, you kind of understand where that character is coming from. But that is a bit of a shocking point of the movie, which I don't want to get into, the specifics, but let's move on. So, the con for this movie, out of all the pros, is the multiple endings that it had in a way. There was at least up to 3 to 4 multiple times where this film could have ended and you had a sense of like not I don't want to say like a cliffhanger, but a sense of like, despair. Is this movie gonna have a happy ending? So I feel like this movie had multiple climaxes and then it just undoes that climax. Am I saying that right? I'm sorry. By another alien act. At a certain point, it felt like sort of like the boy who cried wolf, where like, oh, okay, I this first time, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I can't get fooled again. So I some people I think are gonna enjoy the ending, kind of like a Twilight Zone type of feel, but I feel like others are gonna just kind of like, for what we went through, I didn't really like the ending. So obviously, it's gonna be up to how you feel watching this movie. I do recommend it. I truly do. I think it's an hour 45. I think an hour 50. I think that's including credits. So, the pacing, I think, is great. It really is. Once you get into the all of the main plot point, the movie it moves really well. So, like I mentioned, my only con is the multiple endings where I feel like I could have ended a few times, but overall, I enjoyed the ending. I thoroughly enjoyed the protagonist, Bryn. I thought the actress was wonderful. No dialogue. The piece of dialogue you feel it. You really do feel it. But I don't want to say what it was. And I think just overall for an alien invasion type movie, it kind of felt refreshing. For the tropes that it plays on for an alien invasion, I think it really is sort of a refreshing take. One, because there's no dialogue. Two, because you have a protagonist that doesn't feel, I don't want to be, rude, but doesn't she doesn't feel dumb compared to a lot of other protagonists in these type of films. So I thought she did a wonderful job. Caitlin Dever, Brian Duffield. I don't know much about his other movies that he's done, but I think his approach, the artistic, point that he was going for, I think he truly nailed it. And at the end of the day, I just recommend this film. No one will save you. I don't really do scores. I do scores, but I think for this month of Halloween, for October, I kind of just want to just talk about a lot of horror films, and what better one than to start off with this one. So, guys, that is pretty much it. If you're watching still, thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts on this movie, please comment down below. Did you enjoy it just as much as I did? Did you not? Did the ending hurt you? Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. But yeah, as always, guys, I am Chris. I will catch you next time. Peace.